over the ground, if I've still got this, maybe that tiredness allows me to take in information in a really non-habitual way, so that I'm not trying to be not tired or that I've got to keep going, but that I'm tired. And I'm organised to be tired, you know, everything's still available. And I'm not going to get as caught in trying to understand the detail. Maybe in this place, I can just sort of allow the big picture to come in. So it's the same thing when you're watching FI. Am I trying to understand it? No? Or is it better if I just sit back a little bit and find a different use of my attention to allow me to take in information? So where have we got with Larry with this lesson? I've sort of put him pretty much, except I haven't got his head on something. So Larry's definitely longer in his torso by this stage. No? He's sort of got more length front, back, through the sides. No? And this is where we were doing this. So we've got more of him on the ground. He's really finding this underneath hip, or this stability in his pelvis that we were talking about yesterday, that this isn't going all over the place. So it was the same. Remember, we were on the disc. So this is not about Larry doing this. It's about staying a little bit more contained in his pelvis to allow him to reach out. So if you just do that on yourself at the moment, feel the difference if you're reaching out and you're really allowing your weight to just keep shifting, shifting, shifting. So you're going somewhere. You're really going somewhere. If you just kept following your arm, it would take you somewhere. No? So that it was the same on the disc yesterday. As I said, you know, if I kept reaching there and I kept following it, this would happen and I could just go down to the floor. No? So it's like I know that everything can follow, which is different to Larry, where we're keeping it more contained to allow us to find a bit more through his torso. This is so soft and so low. Can I have that one? Jane, I'll swap you. So we've got that. We know that his head's getting lighter, because he lifted his head. And I think you're all much more getting this idea now that if I want to move someone's head, there's the weight shift. Where does the skeleton move? It's somewhere but somewhere in his chest here. No? So that if I want to lift his head, it's heavy here. But gently through the top of his head, if I just shift the weight, his head gets light. No? If I shift the weight, not just try and lift his head, but going with what the skeleton's understanding is, all of a sudden his head gets light. No? So it's the same with the pull through the head. I was showing a few people yesterday. Usually if their head isn't light, if it's not in a position where it's light, this is him, you go in and you sort of don't know where to put your hands. There's a reason that you don't know where to put the hands. No? Because it's not ready to lift. No? So, if I go in and I think of the weight shift, if I just use this as a lever first, so I'm not lifting, I'm just going in. If I can't find that, I know I probably have to go back, shift the weight, find where he's light, reset him, and then I can get this better. Yeah? So this freedom of the head that we've really been looking for, that's so because otherwise, if I don't get all of this, I'll sit like this, which a lot of you are pretty good at. I know I can be. I've got my pelvis, absolutely, but my arms aren't that light. So how am I finding this place where my arms are light? So we know that Larry's head, he's already got his head light.
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah.
When you were pulling on the head and show at that angle, what were you looking for?
I was looking to shift his weight over the underneath hip. It's just what I said before. You know, I'm connecting dots all the time. So I'm not thinking, can I pull your head?
Oh, so it's not to do with lifting?
No. I said, if you can't find that, you know his head isn't light enough to do it, so you've got to find another position. But you're not going to get it by just lifting his head. You've got to shift his weight.
So you can see the difference between pulling his head up when it's in that position versus when it's flatter on the ground.
I'm sensing the difference. I'm not sure what your question is.
I was wondering why you were doing it at that angle and moving him and doing it at a different angle.
Because that's where he can shift his weight.
Okay.
He can't do it here.
Okay.
Can you see? He's not there. Because this isn't light there. Yeah? So I've got to get him where that weight shift is.
Gotcha.
And then his head becomes light. Does that make more sense? Yeah? So we've been getting his head light. We've been getting all of this. And again, for a lot of you, when you go to lift the arm, again, you don't connect it. You just go, oh, I'm going to go in and lift their arm. Huh? If it's heavy, you've locked up his chest again. If it's heavy, you've just shown him how to brace again, how to do what he always does. So I know that if I'm interested in lightness all the time and movement across the ground, I go to lift his arm and I think, where does the weight? It's heavy. Where do I have to shift his weight? There it gets light. That's now where his arm can be pulled. Yeah? But if I just lift his arm and pull it there, I've just jammed him up again. So these lessons are all about, well, every lesson to me is about this, but, you know, this is where myself, so if I'm asking him to be light and find his ground, usually I'm asking the same question in myself. So that's going to keep reminding me of my organisation. So he's got Larry's arm light there. That's why Larry's responsive. That's why he can do all of these things in here, because he's opening up possibilities for Larry outside his normal habitual organisation.
When you're holding the arm between your
legs,
the condyles of your knees, can you take it through, hold it closer to the elbow? Because I found yesterday with my partner, I wasn't, that her elbow, she was bending at the elbow and I wasn't getting the movement of the shoulder that she got with me. And I realised when she was doing it with me that that's what it was, that she could have me by the wrist and have my arm straight. And I mean, I think it had something to do with the height of the table and
more to do with how you lifted her arm is what I'm going to suggest. Did you have her arm light and connected when you lifted it? And you're not always going to get it light and connected. You know, you're working with people who have done a lot of ATM. Yeah? But it's still your criteria. So my first question to you, Helen, would be, because if I find lightness centrally, the periphery can give up its work. Hang on, let me keep going for a sec, okay? So the periphery can give up its work. So what happens when we don't know all of this? yeah, is we'll use our arms and legs to power it into movement. Yeah? So we're going to have increased tension in our arms and legs. And there's many ATMs that I still struggle with because I don't have all the options yet here, especially in this plane for me, that I could have. So this is the plane that I'm more likely to tighten my arms and legs to try and help me make that movement happen. Yeah. So once we get more mobility, this is why we want to get this centre moving. Because when this centre can begin to move and shift its weight, we know that the periphery can become much lighter. Hang on, I'm going to go back to your original question. So I've got someone, and, you know, it's a little shift of weight, and I feel that I get that, but they're not organised enough yet to have that long arm. Absolutely, I'm going to do that from their elbow. If that's all I can get light, and I can't get this, I'm going to do it from their elbow. I'm not going to insist on this if this doesn't feel light. I'll let it drop here. The thing is, you've just got to have a clearer question now because you haven't got those two hands. You know what I mean? You haven't got one here to keep this stability and to give you this. So you have to be more in your self-use of, can you feel this and I can keep that bottom hip in my image? Because I haven't got this hand there to keep it there. So probably the movement's going to be smaller. Yeah? Or I might decide, if this is more important for the person, I might decide this is the more important way around it to keep their pelvis stable. And instead of this being fixed, which is what Feldman, I may be going to use the elbow as a way in to find some of these weight shifts. So they're the choices you're making. But when you know what I'm interested in is keeping this pelvis stable, not stiff, but we've got a nice fixed base, and I'm interested in how can I explore through moving across the ground, through finding lightness, that some of these middle bits can begin to open up. But if my question's just to do with this and this, yeah, so it's this relationship you're looking for with this lesson.
And if you still needed them to find the lightness more before you could continue working with the shoulder, you'd go back to supporting along the spine, perhaps, or doing some oscillations from rib 1, or
you could absolutely go back to some of those things.
Encouraging length.
Or, you know, you might want to, because we haven't got this, maybe I need to find, you know, maybe I need to do more from here and show the person from their pelvis and be more specific coming back and down. Because we've been doing a lot of this. This is sort of where we're heading for, isn't it? You know, we sort of went, we got the back and down. So maybe I could do all of this clarifying, staying back over the pelvis, keeping this down. But I'm not going to get it just by fiddling around in here. So the biggest thing that I think we often leave out of when we start working is orientation. What's the relationship with space I'm looking for? How am I really looking for what my orientation with this movement is? Yeah. So he's got his headlight. He's got his arm resting here. Oh, Jen, can we go back to Larry now? Yeah. Just on that still shot you had at the beginning. But they're the same principles over and over again. I can't get this free until I get lightness in the limbs. So he's done this. So you can see Larry's elbow wouldn't think of bending. And the other thing you'll probably see in a little bit is Larry's elbows don't bend that easily anyway. So carry on from there, Jen. Thank you. So he's gone in and he's shown all this. Yep. And now, because the sound's not that good, yeah, you can see it there. He's coming in, you might want to come up and see this, on his oh, this guy's dislocated his back. Oh, poor man. Yep. So we've been doing it all through sort of one side, yeah, getting the length. Now Feldenkrais is going in on the sacrum. Huh? Because now, here, I'm thinking more of the underneath hip. Huh? And this is going along for the ride. What's different if I do it through the middle? But what would be different in the organisation? What would you feel differently? Compared to if I was doing it from here or here? Would this be something about when I'm sitting on the disc, if I'm going more over one hip to move? This one's weight bearing, this one's free. What happens if I stay more central and do this forward up? You see, that's a really different organisation I'm starting to get. Because this one isn't going to give me so much rolling to this. Just do it on yourselves. Get in sitting and really feel what's the difference if I'm thinking of it's. I've still got the whole pelvis in my hands, yeah? But if I'm taking one back, yeah, compared to if I'm on the sacrum and starting to direct me. It's much more central. There's a bit more drive straight up rather than I'm going over to the hip. So as soon as I go over to the hip, I've got more options in a way. Can you feel that? Because you've got that circularity of the hip to sort of go around. But if I start to come through the sacrum, is there anyone who can't feel that on themselves? To the centre turn, yeah. I'm just on his sacrum. But I'm still got this same idea of the direction I'm going. Yeah? But you'll try it on each other so that you can begin to feel, why would he start now going through the sacrum? Still on a bit of a, because see, look where he is. I still have to have a diagonal through here. I'm not thinking as I do this going straight to his head. I'm still thinking of this because look what starts to happen when I do the diagonal. Diagonals will always give us more length. It'll always give us more possibilities than trying to go straight through. So it's getting that idea, especially in the torso, that we really want the spine. Do you know what I mean? What we talk about is what's the spine. But this is a 3D shape, and we want forces to go through it in many different ways. So if my idea is the force goes directly through my skeleton, that's really going to close off a lot of options than if I think it's going through this 3D shape. When do I want skeleton? Yeah, that's probably rotation. Yeah. When do I want to shift it more so that I'm much more interested in this first rib, the inner circle of my pelvis and the first rib, which is more what because if I just stay skeletal and I'm trying to do these, huh? I can get there. Yeah. But if I think I've got this whole 3D change, that my ribs and my belly, and then I've got a lot more options. What I'm going to say to you is it's still about shifting weight.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
But it's not through the spine.
No.
If I go for the spine, and you can try it yourselves, if I go through, but Larry needs this shift of weight. That's what's going to let him go to his belly. I'm transferring weight to the ground. Yeah? I can still get that, but it's a different thing I'm after. And once I've got more here, then I can do that. But I've got to find getting through him first. So we've now got that underneath hip. We've got that to shift the weight. And you can see Feldenkrais. Larry, this isn't ready to lift. You can see as he does it that this is still, yeah? So he brings him back. I'm still shifting the weight a little bit to help him do that, but I'm staying over that hip joint. But this is really subtle now that I'm asking. Huh? And then you can see he gets into a position. Where's a stool? And this is different for everyone, so you don't feel you have to do what Feldenkrais did, because he went to lift, he got that, he went to lift this, and that knee was still dropping down. So what's he do? I'll rest it and come in and start to show. Larry's hips could never do this. Sorry, Larry's about here. But now look what I'm getting of the pelvis relative to the hip joint. So now I'm starting to find more trajectories of the pelvis, yeah, by having the sacrum that I'm going to have from up here. This is just going to give me more specific possibilities of getting this. Yeah? Then he got so far, I'm going to assume he felt there's nowhere else to go here. Yeah? So then he brings this one, and so then he goes, okay, let's use both legs as a lever. Yeah? This is a different movement because you can see he's heading into, by using both legs, it's a different function that he's after, which is different to if I just kept doing that. That's different, isn't it? I'm asking something different of someone there. Huh? But he's still all the time looking to get lightness, because the fact that he can just so easily slide those legs means that he's done a lot of weight shift. No? Because if you haven't done the weight shift, they won't move. So we already know that Larry's learning that both legs can get lighter. Yeah? Both legs are able to get lighter now with all of this weight transference that's possible for him. Yeah? So you might have someone on the table where they're already light. You know, this is where you've already got to. Yeah? But so again, this is about weight shift. It's not about now lifting them at the moment up like this. No? I want to show them. Okay, off you go. See what you find with your partner. I'd say the same. Well, it's up to you, but I would say the same partner because you've already got a fair bit of information.